How are we all? I am feeling absolutely dreadful. I don't think I've slept in 2 nights. And now this. Well, we have a deal. He has to answer a handful of questions before we get into it. And then I have no idea what we're talking about. He wanted to talk to me for some reason. Beats me why. But we'll see how this goes. Could be very short. Now we wait. Can we listen to a Chopin waltzer? Not here. Not here. You're going to war over how to make pizza? That's not a war, Zan. That'd be a massacre. There's no agreed upon time, and I'm feeling desperately sick, so I think what I'm probably going to do is we're going to go over my section with the questions, and then I'm going to give him an hour, sort of guaranteed, and then we'll see how I'm doing then. I think that's reasonable. Bring back the creepy music? No, I need to be on my game. Oh, I'm perfectly cheery. I'm just feeling ill. Oh, one moment. Why not reschedule sick? I'm not that kind of sick. I can manage a conversation. It's down here. I had to go turn off one of my 20 alarms from when I was trying to sleep in between now and yesterday. The only thing I can't stand about Mr. Girl is his dismissive attitude towards philosophy and other specialized fields. Really? That's unfortunate. How are we on? To intimidate. I'm new. What's your favorite book? Moby Dick, of course. The playlist is amazing. Where can I find it? I'll pop the music into the server later. What'll you chat be about with Max? I have no idea. No idea at all. Chud sent you. Good man, that Chud. A little bit racist, though. All you'll get out of Mr. Girl is an abstract void of vacuous nonsense. I'm not trying to get anything out of him. He came into my chat a little while ago, asked if I wanted to talk. I said no. Explained why, then a few days later I thought better of it and had the idea that, well, okay. Rather than wade through 30 plus hours of your material to get these answers, I'll just ask them directly. If you answer my questions, I'll chat. I think that's fair. Oh, you know what I should do, actually? Because you know what the music is. I absolutely should have put it into the description. I think I'm actually required to as a condition of using it, but I keep forgetting. Here we go. The credits. Guess I just copy and paste all of these. There really should be a more efficient way to do this. Anywho. There, music's in the description now. Hey, President Sunday, one time I farted an entire plum. That sounds very unfortunate. I hope you got better. What should I order for dinner? I'm thinking either a burrito from the Korean taco place or pho. I've never liked pho. Pho just doesn't do it for me. I always find it watery. Check your Discord. I want to check my Discord. What if we just do this? Music is a little loud or I'm quiet. Music might be a little loud. Let me turn the music down. There, I shouldn't be a little quiet. I'm in the yellow here. I think the time is upon us. Oh boy. Oh, this is going to be pain and suffering, isn't it? Give me one moment. I'm only asking a handful of questions and they're pre-written, unfortunately. Zanzi, how dare you call this elevator music? This is top shelf royalty-free film noir background music. Only the best, spare no expense. Man, P.S. you need lighting, bro. You need lighting. Alright, what's going on? Hola. I've got lighting. How's that? There, and I look like I'm under interrogation, and it's only blinding my face. Alright. Is it weird to say you're a cutie? And this conversation is about the weirdest thing you could possibly say. I thought you being shrouded in darkness was an artistic statement. I wish. What it actually is my desktop being destroyed, so my webcam is nowhere to plug into. If you turn off all the lights, watch this. Watch this. Oh, that's horrifying. Oh, let's not do that. Let's not do that at all. Oh, looks like we're ready to go. Should I keep the music on? Yeah, I'll keep the music on. I'll keep it on. Let's go in.
Hello?
Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you? Wait a second, are you not going to go on camera?
Oh, I could go on camera. Give me a moment.
Or do you want to be, you just want to be a faceless interrogate? You want to be a voice coming from the...
Just the faceless voice of justice, yes.
Wait. What's the...
Hang on,
Telespeak.
You're very quiet. Give me one quick moment. Let me fix that here. Can you say something?
Hello. Hello? Hello. Hello? Hello.
Goodness, that is quiet.
Hello.
Try again.
Hello.
That's
Hello.
better.
Hello.
That's more like
Hello.
it.
Hello. Okay.
Okay. Sorry about the notification sounds for everybody. All right, so...
But your camera's not on.
It's not? That's odd. I turned it on.
No. Well, it looks like it's trying, but I'm not seeing anything.
Oh, I see, because it's trying to capture... it's on Discord as well. I'll just go faceless, so that's all right. You have no objections.
Why don't you... Are you on OBS?
I am.
Do you want to just use your virtual camera, and I can just use that?
Oh, I see. That's a button I have to press.
Yeah, if you start virtual camera, then the OBS virtual camera will be an option
Gotcha,
that you can use.
Okay, give me 1 second. Let me turn that on.
Yeah.
Mr. Girl
It'll show whatever you have on your screen, but I can just crop it, so let's just do.
Okay, that's fine. Sorry, it's laptop might actually be having trouble with this. It's not very powerful.
Yeah, I saw your community post about your computer dying.
It is quite dead.
Yeah.
Let's grab that. Okay, that works. And so I've got you on screen now. I'll just crop that. Technology. There we go. I'm still not on your end, huh?
No. It's just got the little loading thing. Here, I'll put it on so people can see the little loading thing. If you guys are curious what it looks like. That's it.
Okay.
I do think we need to see your face, if possible.
I am making a best attempt. Bear with me 1 second.
Okay.
So
I'm just gonna talk to my chat while you
go for
figure that out.
Sounds good. Video settings. Oh, that's no good. You're seeing all my settings. Okay, let's turn that off. Oh, this is the worst. Okay. Virtual camera. There we go. Okay, now that should actually work.
Okay.
Okay. So let me pull you up.
He's live streaming his face on his channel right now. Yeah. I think the problem is that I think some video cards will only let you use your camera for one application at a time, or something like that.
Something like that. Let me quickly try and capture you here.
I was just on your website thinking about buying a victim shirt, but I feel like I'm being oppressed into paying an ungodly $30 for it. F word, B word. the mrgirl store is very impressive with
Okay.
its new pricing.
What on earth? Okay, I don't think that worked. I don't think that worked at all, and I can't hear him anymore.
It's not true. A lot of times if I agree to not read chat, then I don't. Actually, even when I don't, usually I'll put it way off to the side. A lot of times when you guys think I'm looking at chat, I'm just looking at myself. I hate to tell you.
Okay, here's what I'll do. I'll stop my virtual camera, and I'll just let you have all of the video on your end.
That's not fair.
I don't care about fairness, it's all good. So we'll turn that off. Then we will disable this.
President Sunday doesn't care about fairness. You heard it here first, folks.
Oh,
Clip it and ship it.
They did not. Oh, great. Now I gotta switch it back to the regular camera.
Well done on the abortion panel. I thought Johnny Scarlett was a pretty insightful person. Glad you invited them. Keep going, Max. Thanks, Mio.
Okay.
Yeah. I told Johnny that I appreciated the appearance, and I'd probably invite them on another panel at some point in the future.
It does not want to pick up the pop-out, does it? Let's try,
Max, you should write the boundaries for engaging with chat manifesto.
Okay, I can see myself on a camera in Discord now.
Okay, I still don't. Let me, maybe I need to leave the call and rejoin it.
Let's try that.
Oh, wait. Oh, I see you now. Okay.
Okay, and let me see very quickly if I can't, just for the sake of my people. How do we get this out of a pop-up? So I guess if I close this, then it's in here. Then just grab that. Then we'll get rid of that. And now you can see me as the tiniest person on my own stream. It's amazing. Alright, looks like we're in business.
Oh, you know what I can do? You know what I can do? This might be kind of weird, but if I start my virtual camera, and then I switch, I crashed my Discord. Wait. Okay, now I just can't connect at all. Wait, can you hear me?
I can, but my video is frozen on my end as well. I don't know what the hell's going on. Oh, now we're back. I think if we just stick with this, cut our losses.
Okay. I think I already I think I've already done it though. Hang on one second.
There we go.
Yeah. Okay. So now, yeah. So now, if you, I don't know
That
what the
works.
lag's gonna be like because it's coming to me and then back to you. But
Oh, the lag is horrific.
okay.
Yeah.
So, Joe, should I just switch back?
Just switch back. We'll just go with this. I'll be tiny on my stream, and
Okay.
I'll steal the VOD from your end.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, you're basically not moving at all.
Yeah, looks that way on my end. On my stream, though, I can see you moving fine, and my audience can see me moving fine, albeit in a tiny, tiny window. So that works. You cool?
I guess. I mean, it's like 0.02 frames per second. You're a still image that just updates every like 5 seconds.
Amazing. Yeah, I don't know if there's anything I can do about that. On
Okay.
my end, it's smooth, so that's
Well, fine.
yeah. If you're not in your virtual camera anymore, are you?
No. I'm on my regular one.
How about this? Let's exit the call and then enter in the call again, and we'll see if that does anything.
Okay.
All right. Any better? Oh no, you're not moving. I can neither see you move nor hear anything you're saying. Just a heads up in the...
Yeah, hey.
Oh, there we go.
I got no video from you.
No video, huh?
Not yet. Oh. We're good.
We're good.
We're golden.
Beautiful. Okay. You're not just saying that?
No. Well, yeah, we're basically good.
Great.
A little stuttering, but you're moving.
It's okay. I'll try to stay still so your audience doesn't notice a difference.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. So we agreed that you'd allow me to ask you a handful of questions quickly at the beginning, and then I have no idea what your intentions were after that, but
I called the stream title is interrogation stream. So if you want to lead the way, you can, or however you want to do it.
The questions only demand a very simple answer, so it's not going to be an interrogation stream, just an interrogation of 5 minutes.
Okay. Well,
and then whatever it was that tickled your fancy to ask me on in the first place, we can go in that direction. So
the way
yeah. Okay. So we'll just do these one at a time and get this out of the way. So one. So in your conversation with Vosh, you indicate that you think the baseline age adult men are attracted to in female partners is 14 until, quote, after the novelty wears off, unquote. And in your review of the film Cuties, you say that you found the kids, quote unquote, hot. Do these statements reflect an actual attraction on your part for people within these age ranges, however contextualized, or were they embellished for the context at hand in which you said them?
I have one quick question. Are we going to look at chat during this? Are you going to look at your chat?
No.
Okay. I'm going to hide mine. My choices are, do they reflect an actual attraction on my part, or was I embellishing?
Yes.
Neither.
Oh, all right. What would you answer instead?
They reflect an actual belief about that I have about the average age of attraction of men, not my own.
Well, then I have a follow-up question, if you'll permit that. Where did you get the number 14 then?
Well, I said 14. I was imagining the scenario of the Android strip club's opening, where you have no. I made them androids in my hypothetical because then there's no like ethical concerns.
Sure.
So I felt like at first men would go for the most off limits possible thing that they would still be attracted to, which I think is 14. That's like puberty. You're in puberty or have gone through puberty, but are still very young so as to be taboo. But then I think I said after the novelty wore off, I think men are probably more interested in 15 to 16, and that's pure physical attraction. I think that, again, they're stripping. This is not people you're dating or marrying. But yeah, I think that.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Okay.
that number is not obvious to me, which is why I ask. So, again, and this is why I ask: do these statements reflect an actual attraction on your part? Because we're not referencing a study or someone else's statements. This is just you came up with this number. This is not a number I would have fixed on.
I believe that the word actual in your question
Okay.
is smuggling in a implication that I did not make. I'm not saying which one I would go to. I'm saying which one I think other people would go to. And while you can certainly make inferences about which one I would go to from that, I just want to be clear that's not what I was trying to talk about.
Fair
with
enough.
fraud.
Fair enough. So maybe I'll simplify the question then.
Okay.
Which one would you go to?
I don't think I want to answer that.
Fair enough. Two,
Because-
in your video, an uncomfortable interview with a feminist, inappropriate questions number 4. I think that's from last August. You claimed that when a woman you had met only 2 hours previously hesitated when about to be penetrated by you and said to you that she wasn't ready, you pulled her down so that you penetrated her anyway. Is this account factual?
That's a fact.
Thank you. 3, and your explanation for why you pulled her down onto you despite her saying she wasn't ready was that you could tell by the look in her eyes that she actually was ready. In your judgment, was this an adequate justification for your doing so?
Okay, so the video I told that story in is called "Consent is Complicated," and the point I was trying to make is that I don't know that there is a true adequate justification. I saw your review of my my pizza making video,
Yeah, I know.
and you have a very black and white view of consent and the obligations of each party and the morality that kind of flows from there. And so my video is basically the opposite of your stance, saying that there is no. And so I wanted to give an example to show that of a complicated situation where I don't think most people would consider that rape, but under most definitions of rape, it is rape. So I wasn't trying to make the point that I had adequate information, or that other people should do the same. It's not really a prescription I'm making. I'm more just saying I think these things happen all the time, and this is an example of something that I think will not emotionally resonate with most people as rape, but still checks all the boxes and shows that that it's complicated. That
Okay.
there isn't really a
So we
cut and
can
dry answer.
so we can simplify the question down again. So not as a not as a suggestion, but as a description in your judgment in that particular case. Was this adequate justification for you doing so?
I still hesitate to answer because the whole thesis of the video is that there's never any true adequate justification. The only
In your judgment. In your judgment. In as far as your best guess is concerned.
You mean without the information I have afterward of her
That's
apparently
correct, yes.
enjoying it?
Yes. Sorry, forgive me. I yawn to intimidate my interlocutors. It's
Yeah. It's very effective. My problem is that if I say yes or no, I'm still implying that there is a threshold of adequate information, when the whole thesis of the video is that there isn't.
okay. So in your judgment, then, there was no adequate justification for you doing so.
Sure, but there's never adequate. That's my point, is that all sex has some component of non-consent, and that what you're proposing is a double-edged sword. You're proposing you make sure.
Why do you think so?
But because I think humans are too ambivalent and too complicated. That it was clear that some part of her wanted to have sex, and
Well,
obviously some part of
hang
her
on a
didn't.
second. Consent doesn't have to do with want, though. Consent is an act. You give consent to a thing. Now, you can give consent to something you don't want. It doesn't cease to be consent, and vice versa.
Yeah, but then you create when you do that, you allow for a lot of edge cases that shouldn't happen. So like
Example?
if she says I consent to sex, but she turns she like turns white and like starts crying silently, and like her are trembling and she's frozen, and I'm like, oh, you sure you want to do this? And she's like, yeah, I'm sure, like, go ahead. And then I just start like having sex with her. I would say legally that's not rape. Obviously she's saying she consents, but I think like psychologically and ethically and interpersonally I would say that is pretty wrong.
I'd say it's wrong, but it's still consent, right? So I think like the upshot of this is that consent isn't always sufficient.
Well, then I guess maybe my definition of consent would be that that it must be sufficient, and I guess my point is that nothing's ever sufficient. That there's always some form of rape happening to some small degree, and I think just being aware of it and talking about it is the best solution, rather than saying.
Okay, you wouldn't, for example, say that there can simply be unwanted sex that is nonetheless consensual and unethical if you're aware that the person doesn't want it because you're doing something unkind or otherwise to your partner without it being.
Yeah, I think, I do think that's. I think that we acknowledge that there's like if the person's too young, or they work for you, or you have leverage over them somehow, that.
Well, that would obviate consent, because then you don't know if the consent is coerced in some
Absolutely.
respect.
And so,
yeah.
but what I'm saying is that there's always some lack of self-aware, or if they're drunk, maybe that's a better analogy. There's some lack of self-awareness and self-control present at all times. Like we're all sort of compromised mentally on some level at all times. So you can
How
say
do you
you
know?
want to do it, and
It's an odd statement. How do you know?
I just think that however clear-headed you are, you can always find somebody more clear-headed, and however foggy-headed you are, you can always find somebody who's more confused. Like, if Dr. K,
Okay.
something we I think share a similar view on. Dr. K gets consent, but he's coming at you fast. There's the pressure of chat. There's the pressure. He's talking circles around you, and you've got 5, 20, 30,000 more people watching who all want you to do something. Like you there's certain things you just can't consent to, and I guess I feel like to some extent that's how sex is. Like you're just put in a situation where the stimulus is coming fast. You have to make snap decisions, and
Do you?
I guess I'm advocating for people taking more responsibility for other people's mental and emotional states.
That's good of you, but I still don't see how this bears in the question of consent. It seems to me, just again, because you watched my video response to you a couple nights ago,
Yeah.
my position on this is, of course, that how consent functions is it's not sufficient if the person, again, as you say, is crying and is turning white and seems visibly upset, etc. You should probably take additional steps to make sure they're actually okay, or just abstain entirely.
But if you don't consider that rape.
If you don't, I would consider that something ethically in the ballpark of what we're getting at when we call something rape. But more to the point, what consent functions as is one of the clearest indications that another person can give you that they're a free agent making a choice to engage in something. And so at the very least, they are not
I just
they are
don't
not
believe
expressing
it is.
that they are not expressing to you and that they are it is unclear whether or not they're making a choice to them, or the opposite, that they're choosing not to.
Okay, so I'm talking about a person's inability to consent because they don't know how they are feeling. So if somebody says, "Yes, I want to have sex," and then right before we're about to have sex, they say, "Wait a second, what year is it?" If I still have sex with them, when they're like, "What city are we in?" Even if they're not drunk at all, they're totally sober, but they express that level of like mental confusion. I would say it's rape if I do it anyway. Do you agree with that? Even though
I'd be
they
inclined
think
to
they're
agree with that pragmatically. I don't know if, for example, afterwards they said, no, it's fine. I just sometimes lose track of the time. And then gave every other indication that they were, sort of savvy and in their right head.
sure,
Gets a little
but
bit,
like
yeah.
yeah, but if the only information you have is suddenly this person seems like they're acting normal, but they're
Yeah.
extremely disoriented. Like even if they can say, "Yes, I consent to sex. I really want to have sex with you. I just don't know where we are." Or my
If
name.
you've just met this person and you have to ask, I would say you're probably in a situation where you need to back away and investigate
Right.
a little more
And
before you
so
move forward. Yeah.
so even though they think they want to have sex, based on your intuition or understanding or empathy or whatever of what's happening with them, that they can't make that decision. And I just feel like that's happening to some degree all the time.
Okay, sure. So just to bring it back round full circle, so in your judgment, uh, you did not have adequate justification to pull this person down because you were not taking that care, right?
I don't think, but I'm saying there's never going to be a situation where I'm like, I knew.
But
Okay, what
there could be a situation, if I may, where you have very good reason to think that you don't know. You have
Yes.
especially good reason. Okay, so one such one could be, for example, that your partner says that she isn't ready.
I would say I definitely took a risk, more of a risk than I would be taking if I knew her. Yeah,
Okay.
but um,
Yeah, I'd say that's a fairly safe answer.
well, I didn't. Again, I didn't. She didn't like push back. It's not like I like if I started pushing her down and then she pushed back and then I
Right.
forced her down, then I would agree 100% that's rape. Like that, then
Okay,
I
so
I
it's rape depending on her reaction time.
kind of most people most people's reaction time to being sexually violated is very slow, which I think is why you get all these women who are like, I said yes, or I didn't say no.
Isn't that the reverse of
But
what you just said?
no, it's a double-edged sword. That's what I'm saying. Is that
Well, no.
it?
But if just very quickly, so you said that if she pushed backwards, if she pushed back and kept herself up, then it would be
Yeah,
rape if you pushed
I'm
down.
gonna I'm gonna tie it back together. I get what you're saying.
All right, let's go on.
Um, if the person does not have the reaction time to tell you they don't want to have sex until afterward, which seems very common, it seems like most people don't figure out, which is why you get all these Me Too accusations that are like what's the Indian comedian dude?
Oh, you're talking about the working for McLean's? Can't remember.
No. The people were like, it's a rape accusation, but he said it was just a bad date. He like brought this woman to his house, and then he kept like kind of pushing himself onto her, and she kept saying like, I don't know, or like, I'm not sure, I don't know, I'm not ready for this.
Right.
And then she like wrote a Medium article that was like, he forced himself onto me, and like that was like a rape accusation. Oh, Aziz Ansari, yeah. I only checked the chat because I knew they were going to be saying his name. All right. So, my point is that people are very quick to dismiss her and say like, you didn't say no
Uh-huh.
until afterward, but I think that's pretty common. So, Yeah, it is kind of dependent on reaction time, honestly.
Okay. So if a person says they aren't ready before, then it's adequate justification for pulling them down, or does it have to
No,
be
no, I didn't
afterwards?
say it was adequate. Don't put words in my mouth. I never said that I had adequate information.
Okay, so
I'm
again,
saying that I don't think there's such a thing as adequate information.
okay, but the consequence of that is that in your judgment there was no adequate justification for your doing so. Yes.
Yeah, but I'll say that about any sex act I've any person I've penetrated. I would say I didn't have adequate information to know that on that they um, fully consent, because I don't think anyone ever fully consents. So the problem with my view, I think in from your perspective, is that I'm saying, well, there's always some part of the person saying no, and you just steamroll it. But you should know you're steamrolling it, and so I did. I knew that on some level she didn't want me to, or was resistant, or was fucking with me and wanted to see what I'd do. I don't know, but I was aware that of the like pushback. And my problem with your view is that you're saying once you give yourself the green light, you you're still inevitably steamrolling some part of that person that is feeling ambivalent or conflicted or does not consent. By saying, "Oh no, I had adequate justification. I didn't do anything wrong." I feel like n-
Oh, no, no,
my
no.
point in saying it's complicated is that you're always doing something
Not quite.
wrong.
Not quite. I don't think consent by itself, as a general rule, is sufficient. But you, at
Well,
the
then what the
very
hell does
least,
consent mean?
it means that at the very least the person has not avowed to you or has not failed to avow to you either that they are accepting of what's going to take place or not.
I think you're evading the downside of your position by leaving yourself a loophole where I say, well, if somebody's completely disoriented but they consent, you say, well, or I say if somebody's crying and shivering, you say that's not rape. That just is getting close to something that we would be describing when we say the word rape. It's like just call it rape. That I think that is what you believe. You just aren't. You're.
All right, I'll
It's the
bite.
downs.
I'll bite.
Okay.
I'll bite. That's rape. So in the event that somebody again looks nervous and is saying they're not ready, it seems like a clear-cut case. You abstain, yes?
She didn't look, but she didn't seem nervous. That's the thing. Is that it's the inverse of I'm ready, but I'm shivering and shaking. She's saying she's not ready, but she seems like she is ready.
So the reason why we're spiraling on this and why I'm a little bit perplexed is that, to me, when when a description of somebody in a situation includes them saying out loud, "I'm not ready,"
Hmm.
that person looks to me like they're not ready.
Well, a person's verbal cues and physical cues can contradict themselves, right?
Sure.
And in your view, you should go with whichever one is the most saying no.
Yes. Unless you have adequate justification for believing that that's not what their actual position is. Like, for example,
Yeah, I think
if they
I think
say
it's a good prescription.
if they say outside of that situation, like when I say no in this case in a certain tone or whatever,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I don't mean no. That's how like safe words work and things like that. So
Yeah, I think
yeah,
that's a good prescription. I think if I were teaching people how to be as careful as you can to not rape somebody, I would agree that
okay.
if you have any contradiction between the verbal and physical cues, you should probably wait for them to be aligned. But the thing is, though, the thing is, a lot of times they never get aligned, and I think a lot of times women don't want
But if they never get
are
aligned,
are not willing to align them.
if they never get aligned, then the answer seems obvious. You just don't.
I know, but how much less sex would everybody have if they actually did that? So it's a great prescription for rape prevention.
They'd have less, of course.
Yeah,
Yeah. What does that matter?
I don't know. I've gotten mocked by women multiple times for doing that.
Well, that's not very nice.
No,
Oh.
I think I also I think I was also taught that men are just like horrible rapists, like that they're always raping women, and then
That's not
so I
nice
think
either.
that this is kind of what?
That's not nice either.
No, it's not. But I think this is kind of freeing for me to be like, it helps me understand my own feelings of like feeling violated after I did something with somebody that I said yes to and I wanted to, but then afterward I'm like, I don't know if I really wanted to do that. So it's helpful for me,
What is?
um, my view. So I agree. The downside of my view is that if you say all sex is rape, you're also saying all rape is sex, which has like disturbing implications. That there's
That's not
always
how that works. But I'm following you. Keep going.
well that there's always ambivalence. There's always an element of consent and non-consent to all sex acts.
No, but like,
It's
we're going off track here. But like you're kind of saying like all bald men are men, therefore all men are bald men. Just don't follow.
Yeah, well, to
Yeah.
some degree, all men have parts of their head that hair doesn't come out of, and yeah, that is what I'm saying. All men are to some degree bald.
Okay, so what you're actually saying is all sex is to some degree rape.
And all rape is to some degree consensual. Yes.
How do you get to that part? All rape is to some degree
But see, I don't.
consensual.
I think part of. I will answer your question, but I think
Okay.
part of the problem is that you see our role as like streamers very differently from how I do. So if I was a consent educator and I was going to a high school to talk to kids about um, like how do you handle negotiating sex? You know, if I'm talking to a bunch of like 16, 17-year-olds, I'm not going to come in and be like, well, all rape has some degree of consent, guys. Wrap your fucking minds around that. Like that. If I were in that role, I would be talking about it completely differently. Like if a kid in my life
Uh
asks
huh.
me for advice about this stuff, I'm not gonna say any of this. I might if like a teenage girl asked me like said I had sex but I feel really weird about it afterward, then I might like allude to something like um yeah, it's it's confusing because there's some part of you that doesn't want to, and you want to listen to that. But it can make you feel like you're being like a bad person or you're going to get somebody in trouble if you talk about it. And so I think that the way it's more like a supplement to normal consent education and consent culture. But you seem to feel like we should be making ironclad
Max,
scripted
I got a
rules.
level with you. I couldn't follow that.
Okay.
Okay.
You are talking about this like you're a consent educator talking to teenagers.
Well, we are talking to
And
teenagers right now.
yeah,
At this moment,
but
there are teenagers in our
we're also
audience.
talking to like 30 to 50-year-olds.
Yeah, we are.
So
But we're also talking to teenagers.
we are. So I reject the idea that YouTube should be made for kids. I don't think YouTube should throw child audience, teen audience, 30, 50, 70-year-old audiences all together. I think they're doing this because it makes them the
I
most money.
agree, and yet it does.
Okay. Yes, and yet it does.
And here we
So
are.
we have this issue where if there was like an HBO of YouTube, I would rather be on that platform. That would be perfect for me. And I think it would clear up a lot of people's like problems with me because I'm not making content for kids.
Okay. However,
Kids are watching it.
yes, which
Yeah.
means that you are. You're not to be clear, like fine tuning it for a child audience, but it's reaching a young
No.
audience. People, take your advice and your descriptions of these things very seriously.
Sure, but
Yeah.
I'm careful to not I'm not trying to give advice when I talk about this, but I think it's not just about age, though. I think that you are also buying into a idea that YouTubers should be telling you how to live.
No, not at all. God, no.
Okay, well then I don't. My sense is that you think it's irresponsible to tell this story the way I've told it.
I think it's irresponsible, and we're getting away from questioning in particular here, but I think it's irresponsible if you have an audience that you know takes your words very seriously, to say things that can have very dangerous consequences if they're taken seriously by the wrong people in the wrong way, and to not provide ironclad specifications for it so that doesn't happen. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense, but there's a contingent of people who also will feel raped after some sex event,
Sure.
and then they'll hear you saying adequate justification, green light, boxes are checked, consent was obtained.
Oh no, you misunderstand me.
Uh,
I'm not saying that that was adequate to determine that the situation wasn't bad or wasn't even rape, in some sense. Like we
But
can
you're
we can get into the weeds about this, and maybe
But
indeed
no,
it
no,
is the
you're
case.
just saying
No,
just
slow
the
down.
fact that
Slow
you're saying
down.
that
Slow
they're
down. Slow down, cowboy. What I'm saying is that to the extent that you are culpable, it is to the extent that you have done, to the utmost of your ability, your due diligence in a situation where acting improperly or acting irresponsibly can result in severe harm to your partner. Simple
I
as that.
understand,
Yeah.
but and when you say simple as that, you are alluding to the existence of a checklist that once all the boxes are checked, when you can I know you have not enumerated all the boxes, but at some point you believe that there is a sufficient level of consent and emotional psychological knowledge about the other person that can
Yes.
be obtained. Right. And I am I am making content for the people who have a sexual experience and they consult you or somebody who thinks like you, and they see all the boxes are checked and they still feel violated. And I think that my lens of like you can't ever really fully consent. There's going to be some part of you that didn't want to, large or small, and impactful or unimpactful. And then also, I think that there is a contingent of people who actually get raped, like illegally, and feel that they played some part in it, or blame themselves on some level, and the consent culture people, like you included, will tell them that you played no part in it, and it's not your fault, and the boxes were not checked, and therefore you are the victim.
That would be fair if that was my stance. So, ergo, on your reasoning, you had there was no adequate justification for you pulling this person down onto you when she said she wasn't ready.
I'm saying there's never an adequate justification.
But encompassed within that is
Sticking
the
your
no to that
penis
to that
in
question.
another human being. I mean, it's like, yeah, I'm saying all sex is rape to some degree, including that. I think that's a really good example of a confusing situation where, I think it's possible for someone to rape somebody else and neither of them to even have any idea that it even happened. So I just think if you take such a like hyper nuanced view of rape, yes, prescriptions from it get weird because then I'm saying it's okay to rape people, which is why I'm not making any prescriptions, because that's not true. And so I think if you're trying to make decisions about
Well, the point, though, and the reason why it's important to distinguish between consent and what people want is because the definition of rape is not unwanted sex, it's unconsensual sex. So past that point, it's not rape. The reason why I would bite the bullet and say it's something sort of, if you want to use airy-fairy language, sort of spiritually in the domain of rape, is because you are still doing something that is exploitative in a conceptually similar way that somebody who would abstain on principled reasons from rape, we would reasonably expect they want to abstain from that as well. Which you seem to agree with.
I want don't want people to abstain from having sex with people who they know don't want to have sex.
Yes.
In a prescriptive, broad sense, like broad strokes, zoomed out way, yes. But if you're asking me, like my consent video is not in that realm. It's more in the realm of like looking at the rape that is part of all sex.
Or we're
So
not
in
even
that
we're not
sense-
even we're not even
but-
talking about that.
but in that sense, it's not.
yes.
You can't avoid it.
You can't avoid it.
No,
Okay.
not really. You can try to manage it
Okay.
and diminish it. I think also I'm talking about a way to look back at sex, and you're talking about a way to move through sex. Or
Not
to
not
plan
not
sex.
quite. Not quite. What I'm talking about here, as outlined in the question, is a way to approach sex prior to it taking place at all.
Yeah, but I'm talking about a way to understand what has already happened.
Okay, but it hasn't already happened yet because she said I'm not ready and you had to pull her down.
But yeah, but by the time you're hearing the story, it has that.
Of course, but we're talking about what you depict in the story, not after the
Well, in
story.
the story, I have no I don't have a. I mean, as I told you, if I was making prescriptions for
That's okay. I wasn't asking you to make any. Just in your judgment in that case, did you have adequate justification to yourself for doing so?
I don't want to. Am I making a prescription? Like if I say
No, not at all.
What-
We can look. We can put a big bracket around this.
Okay.
Kids, don't try this at home. Nobody is advising you to imitate anything of what's being said.
That's irresponsible. You can't just say don't try this at home. Now they're all going to try it. Do I believe that I possess the incredible empath superpowers that
To
allow me
understand
to
the
tell-
sentence, I'm not ready. you?
that I understand the sentence I'm not ready, but I also understand the facial expression that contradicts it.
Do you? What's the facial
Well,
expression that? What's
obviously,
the
what do
facial
you- what do you ask-
expression? What's the facial expression that contradicts the sentence? I'm not ready.
Oh, I don't want to do it to you. It'll just drive you crazy.
It's okay. I can't see your
You'll be
face.
You'll be too confused. Oh, you can't see my
Describe it
face?
for me.
It was like it's like a daring look.
Ah.
Like you're not a pussy,
Ah.
are you?
Ah, I see. So if you feel like you're being dared by your partner and they say no, it's actually yes.
I'm not. You're so focused on making prescriptions, and I'm trying to stay away. I generally try to stay away from making prescriptions with my content, which allows me, I think, and apparently to you it doesn't, but to me it allows me the moral freedom to get into very murky, confusing, hyper nuanced territory that is not really ethical or appropriate to get into if you are somebody who sees yourself as like an educator for kids on how to navigate a sexual situation. You should not watch Mr. Girl if you're trying to figure out how to not rape people.
Agreed. Now, on to question 4,
wait.
if we can.
Wait. I think there. Wait, hang on a second. There's one little nugget I wanted to pry out of the walls of my brain.
We had a deal. Questions first.
Oh, okay. Sure. Go ahead.
Yeah. So we're going to go a little bit of afield from that one. So, are your video interactions with your partner Shaylin documentary? By which I mean, are they to the
Yes.
best of your knowledge, unscripted and
yes.
sincere interactions, and not in any way embellished for the camera?
Yes.
Yes, completely. So, in the interest of absolute
100%.
clarity,
Absolute clarity.
your
That's
recorded interactions with
100%.
Shaylin. Hang on. Your recorded interactions with Shaylin, especially those concerned with her gender identity and your sex doll, they are unscripted, spontaneous, sincere. They are recordings of actual exchanges and are in no way simulated for the camera. This is real life.
This is real life.
Okay, thank you.
This, I certify this description. Yeah.
Okay, and 6. You've indicated in the past that there are ways in which pedophiles could be treated without being stigmatized. Have you looked into any of the research on this? Just by chance. I'm curious if you have any insights. Seems to be a subject of interest to you.
Insights about whether or not they can be treated.
Well, I would assume things like treatment options or treatment paths or whatever the language is.
I don't. According to the world's leading pedophilia expert, who I believe I spoke to, there is no cure or treatment for pedophilia or any sexual interest pattern, as he called it. The DSM until
How about
January.
therapy? How about in terms of therapy? Therapeutic options.
Therapy.
I think I'm referring to hearsay here. I haven't looked at your content all the way
Therapy
through.
can help you manage it, but it's not going to make you not attracted to kids. I think that therapy might help you.
No, Corey. I'm assuming that. I think if there was a known cure for pedophilia, we would be having a discussion about that when I broach this topic.
Well, yeah. I mean,
what I'm getting at is I have heard, and you can correct me on this, that you have opinions concerning, for example, the consumption of child pornography and things of that sort, where that could be a harmless alternative in your words, not mine. I'm assuming I could be incorrect. Please feel free to correct the record on that.
I've never advocated for the consumption of child pornography.
Not advocate.
I think child porn should be illegal. It is illegal, and I think
it
should
is.
stay illegal.
Good.
Well,
brilliant. Okay.
I think the possession and consumption of child pornography should be illegal.
What about fictional?
I think fiction. You mean, drawings or
lifelike CGI models. Let's run with that.
Yeah, that's fine. I think that should be legal.
Androids,
legal.
Okay.
At a certain point, I think I did say. I think on a panel I said I think child sex dolls. I can see an argument for making them illegal because of the psychological harm done to children who see that we're like buying dolls of them. Like, there's something about the open popularity of photorealistic CGI child porn that if it becomes, because like kids on average, the first time viewing pornography now is age 11. So kids know about porn. They know what porn we're all looking at. I haven't really thought about this till just now, but like kids know a lot more about us because of this and because of the internet than when I was 11. I didn't know what adults around me were like masturbating to, but now they know. So if there becomes if my prediction is correct, there becomes a hyper popular 14, 15, 16-year-old CGI porn like hub, if you will. I think that sends middle schoolers a pretty strange, or at least very new, strange to me, message. When I was 14 or 15, I didn't understand that like all the teachers in the school would want to like see us naked. I think I didn't start getting that till I was like 16 or 17. But I feel like if that becomes just like a commodified like fact, that could be destructive to the minds of young kids. So I don't really know how to manage that because I don't think it should be illegal, but I also see that it's not really something I want kids seeing, and they're gonna see it. So
purely out of interest, are you aware of any like research into this, into the dynamics or the ramifications of this stuff, or
no?
Oh, okay.
I have not started my deep dive into my pedophile narrative video.
Good. And finally, just any exceptions to any of the answers, the positive answers that you gave above that you'd like to note?
No.
No? All
well,
right. No?
I think I had one last thing to say about the rape thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to make it clear that my consent video is meant to be an augmentation of existing consent culture and education, that all the people who say, well, I checked all the boxes but I still feel raped, or I got raped but I still feel like I played a part in it, or it's like kind of my fault, but everybody's just telling me that I had no agency. Just people with like feelings that are really bad and strong that don't have any support under the broad strokes prescriptive. I guess I want to be able to talk about rape and consent as complicated things non-prescriptively. And I think your argument that because there are kids in the audience, we have to always speak strictly prescriptively as a manual for how to not rape or get raped, I don't think that is fair to me or to the audience. And I think that YouTube needs to do a better job of directing the audience to the content that is appropriate to them. Although they did ban the video, so I guess there's that. Maybe the platform is just more for kids, but...
The pizza one?
No, the consent is complicated. The video where I first told the Tinder story I got a strike and it was removed from YouTube.
I see, okay.
So YouTube did decide that the Tinder story is not allowed on YouTube, at least in the way that I told it. Although honestly, I think it was probably removed for nudity in some of the clips. I think that was the real problem, not what I said.
Do you suppose that one party in an arrangement involving two parties having obligations put upon them obviates the obligations put upon the other one?
Do you suppose that an arrangement...
Do you suppose that the obligation to confirm the consent of your partner on one side eliminates the obligation to confirm consent by your partner on the other side?
Are we talking in like Mr. Girl world or prescriptions for kids world?
Real world, our world, the one we share. Not prescriptions.
Well,
I'm just asking your opinion. In the event that you have a man and a woman getting into a sexual engagement, is the fact that it is there is a moral impetus on the part of the man to confirm that he has the consent of his female partner before engaging anything, does that mean that the female partner does not have an obligation also to confirm that she has consent on the part of her male partner first?
No. I think they both are obligated.
You said that you said this notion removed agency on the part of one of the parties.
In the pizza video?
Mm-hmm. Or you implied it. You may have just said it just now. We'll have to rewind, but...
Because when I said, is it...
I think that was the essence of your final note there. Maybe you can clarify.
My final note just now?
Yeah.
No, what I'm trying to say with my final note is that there's... I think there are subtle and very important emotional questions that are asked by people after confusing sexual encounters that consent culture doesn't have an answer for, and I'm trying to provide a space to talk about those more complex and nuanced situations.
Why did you bring up that when we were discussing, when the question was whether the look in this person's face was sufficient to pull her down despite her words to the contrary, that she was not right?
Because the premise of your question is that there is a sufficient bar that can be reached. And
no, I disagree.
Premise of my...
I'm perfectly willing to accept as an answer that there is no situation in which there is adequate justification. However, the upshot of that is the answer is no. There was no adequate justification. Of course.
Sure.
Follows.
Yeah, but I just wanted to add the context that the point of my video is that there is never a green light. No.
Yeah, sure. So to be clear, the point that you're making is not that you didn't rape this person. It's just that you think that everybody else is raping everyone anyways.
Yeah, but that's just through my lens. Like, again, so I'll say, like, I want to talk about this in a really complex, nuanced, weird way where I'm going to say, like, here's another way of looking at sex that is not good for making prescriptions. It's not good for teaching kids. It's not good for making general whatever. But it is good for explaining emotional experiences and psychological experiences that people have and that are not addressed by this other way. And then some people take something I say about that lens and say, okay, so Mr. Girl thinks it's okay to rape people because all sex is rape, so now you can just go around raping people. But it's like, that's not... You're taking something I'm saying like in one language and one lens and transposing it to another where I would never say that.
I was speaking English.
I think you know what I'm talking about, motherfucker.
All right, well, that's all I got for the list. So what did you want to talk about? And thank you, by the way. You've got upheld your end of the bargain.
Oh, well, you're welcome. What do I want to talk about? I don't know. I just see you. I see you, man. No, I just see you talking about similar things or responding to things I've talked about, and I felt like we should, you know, that we should talk.
Okay. Anything stand out, or just the aforementioned?
You said you hate me. I feel like you've been mean to me.
Think so?
Kind of. Yeah, you'll disagree with me, and then you're. I like watching your content. I enjoy your streams.
Well, thank you.
But you'll be challenging my things I say, but then you'll just be like, "And you're a horrible, disgusting person, and I hate you."
Well, I'm not always making a cosmic statement that way. I just believe that you should be very forward with your emotions in the moment, you know?
Yeah.
Sincerity is important to me.
Okay. Well, do you hate me still? How are you feeling about me? Let's talk about your feelings.
Be completely honest with you, I've had no sleep in 2 days. My guts feel like they're about to explode. I'm just hanging on. I've probably never been more positively disposed towards you in my life.
You remember when what's his fucking name? Not Jimmy Kimmel, the other guy.
Not Jimmy Kimmel.
Jimmy Fallon.
Oh, I hardly watch
Remember
that
when
stuff.
Jimmy
I do know who that is, though.
I think you're gonna know this story. Remember when Jimmy Fallon ruffled Trump's hair?
No, amazingly.
So when Trump was running for president, he went on Jimmy Fallon, and he asked if his hair was real, and he said yes, and he said, "Can I touch it?" And he said yes. And then Jimmy Fallon affectionately tousled Trump's hair.
It's pretty weird.
And he got a lot of flack for it. Because, well, yeah, obviously. But I think this is something you've been talking about a lot with about you and me or other creators. But it seems like the platforming dilemma or the engagement dilemma of how to talk to people you disagree with vehemently, or talk about them without amplifying their
Oh, disagreements? No. I have no issue with people being completely chummy with people you disagree with. What I do have an issue with is when people identify, especially by their own words, they identify that an interlocutor is specifically trying to cause or foment other people to cause harm. And they abet them by giving them a loudspeaker using the resources at their disposal, without any pushback or anything else to justify it. So, for example, this conversation, I originally declined until you agreed to answer a sequence of questions. So then, despite like my extensively by this point avowed issues with your activity, I can justify this exchange on the grounds that, apparently lacking any sense of self-preservation as you do, you would give me answers to these questions. That would save me a lot of time in doing precisely what I've already been doing.
Well, I think it's in my best interest to answer the question. I don't think that's a lack of self-preservation.
You declined to answer at least two, my friend. You're not entirely out to lunch, clearly.
The strip club question?
The strip club question and no, that was the Android question. And what was the other one? Was it the rape question? I think it was the rape question. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you feel like I didn't. Well, I told you if I was in your world, and I was
Mm-hmm.
making prescriptions for people how to navigate these situations, and I would say no if you don't have adequate information. But if I'm in my world where I'm like
I think at
shit,
one point midway through you said something defective you don't want to answer, and then we went on a long thing about
yeah,
something else at a different period in time
very
relative to
long,
the example. Yeah.
unrelated tangent. Okay, so the strip club thing, the problem with answering it is that if I say yes, if I say I would go to the one with the 11-year-olds,
Would you?
cuties untamed, um, robot cuties. The problem is then that makes my cuties review pretty meaningless because the whole point of the review is the way a normal adult is responding um, to this seeing 11-year-olds or 12, 13-year-olds dancing sexually. And then also it makes all my if I say like, oh, I am like if I say I empathize with pedophiles, okay? Pedophiles are the most hated people and I want to increase empathy. My whole project is about challenging people to empathize with those they hate the most. So of course I'm going to talk about pedophilia. It's a perfect boogeyman for me to like really, sink my teeth into. But then I say, well, also coincidentally, I'm a pedophile. Then it really takes a lot of the wind out of my sails there,
I see.
because then it's like,
So to be clear, you would not say that you would not go to the. Sorry, you would not say that you would go to the 11-year-old one
no,
strictly for the reason that
no,
this would
no,
disadvantage
no,
your message in another.
no,
Not
hold
because
on,
it's an 11-year-old one.
hang on, son,
Okay.
hold on.
Okay.
I'm saying also, if I say I wouldn't go there, then my whole message about how we hate pedophiles or we hate black people or we hate Jews or whatever, leftists or conservatives, we hate those people because we're disgusted by something that we see in ourselves that resonates with them. It's self-hatred that we're flinging into other people. Then we need to learn to accept that we're all more similar than we want to believe, and that we're all human, and that these are all human experiences that we could empathize with and understand. But I'm not a fucking pedophile. Okay.
Or
Fuck you for even asking
you
that.
could
It's like,
or you could do this, or you could do this.
wait, hold on, hang on.
All
Before
right.
you tell me what I should do instead, I just
Okay.
want you to understand whether you think it's flawed. I want you to understand my reasoning for why I don't want to answer that question, because I don't want to distance myself, and I don't want to encamp myself with pedophile.
Max, I really think you do. I just think
Okay.
you don't understand your feelings about it. But more to the point, see what I would
Wait,
do in that situation.
What feelings do you think I don't understand?
What I would do in that situation is I would go, you know what? We all have drives to do things that we don't want to do that are bad. And sometimes when people are abused, they have really fucked up childhoods or whatever. They have drives that most of us can't even imagine having. We can understand the concept. And so when you see someone who has been driven to do something and who has allowed themselves to do something that is horrendous, you don't have to have any empathy for the act itself. You just have to be able to recognize that, hey, human beings have things going on inside their heads. They don't fully control them, and they push them into things. And sometimes people do things that they really don't want to do. Or at the very least, you can empathize with this person had a struggle that you don't have, and you can treat them as a human being, and not have to say, well, you know, probably would go to the same strip club ultimately if there were no consequences to it. Because the fact of the matter is, no, I wouldn't. If you asked me that question, you said which age group would you go to? As soon as you're specifying that it has to be an android to make me feel okay about it, I'm disinterested. If you had somebody with the body of a 30-year-old and like sublime looking, but you told me they were underage, that in itself would tick a box in my brain, and I would cease being interested. Like that. I don't think that's ubiquitous. I don't think everybody's like that. But I don't think everybody's like you in that respect either, or like them. And I think one thing that is profoundly dangerous to do is to whittle away at one of the few common impediments that we all have to doing something really, really bad, and that is convincing ourselves that, well, everybody else just secretly wants to do this anyways, they're just too afraid to. I think that's extremely dangerous. Because for some people, that's all it takes.
Okay, you think it's dangerous to... It sounds like you're saying you think it's dangerous to openly empathize with people who do bad things or want to do bad things by saying that that's just part of the human experience.
It's not just part of the human experience. It's a
Well,
contingent part of a human's experience.
It's a part of a part of a
But
part of the human experience.
attraction
But
to children is not a
agree-
part of my
Wait a
experience
second,
at all.
you're changing the subject.
Am I?
Yeah, your statement is about it's dangerous to say something like, we all want to rob a bank at some level, or we all want to kill someone, we all want to rape someone, we all want to blah, 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 blah. We all have racist inclinations or thoughts, or sexist or whatever. You're saying that it's dangerous to do that form of empathy, of saying, you know, you're still human.
When we are talking about sex drives, that if that impediment is gone, somebody may find their way to abusing a child. That merits some special consideration over, we all kind of want to rob a bank, and that's why we all play GTA 5. You know?
Okay. So
Yeah.
do you think that if I say we all want to rob a bank, that's why we all play GTA 5, that could spur somebody to carry out a bank robbery that gets somebody killed? Could even be a child that gets killed, or somebody who has children. Like, that could still
It's
harm
not the
children.
example I would fix on, but it has happened.
Okay. So I guess I'm trying to get at, you're saying there's something special about molesting kids
Yes. That's exactly what I'm saying.
that is so bad
Yes.
that we shouldn't make pedophiles feel like
Their pedophilia is normal. Yes. That's precisely what I'm saying.
even if it is.
It's not.
Those are two different... See, now you're changing the subject. You did this again. We went through this loop just now.
Then in answer to your question, Max, yes, even if it is.
Okay.
In fact, you know what? Especially if it is.
Well, good for you. Good for you. Put some ranch on those bullets and just suck them down. Okay. So you're saying that child molestation is so bad that we should lie about... so if there is research...
Well, see, it seems to me that the only modification you've made to my point is that the threat now is amplified 100-fold. Now we have to worry about every single person in the world.
Yeah.
having
That's
these
fine. That's fine.
inclinations.
Yes. I get what you're saying.
Okay.
Okay. The research, as far as I know, says that the attraction to prepubescent children is more common than homosexuality in adult men.
Really, is that a fact?
I don't know if it's a fact, but that I've seen studies showing that. And
Do you know
that's
who?
talking about,
do you by any chance know the names of any of these authors? I'd be interested in looking these
I think
up.
the author's name is Hall.
Hall. Okay.
I think that's the one. Yeah. I have a fan who posts a list of these studies anytime this topic comes. They might even post it in the comments of this video. But I can.
Yeah, forward me that. That'd be interesting to see.
Okay. The studies that I have read, and I don't want to go on as saying, like, this is my recollection. Okay, I'll be doing more research and I'll have quotes and everything for my big video. But for right now, from what I've seen,
Big video, huh?
yeah, I'm making a big video called The Pedophile Narrative, where I'm going to talk about pedophiles and groomers and online child safety and you. No, I'm just kidding. But
Interesting.
everything else. The studies I have read show that the ability men can be. Well, have you heard the statistic that most child abusers, most child molesters, are not pedophiles? So most child
No,
abuse,
no, I have not. I'd be curious as to how they arrived at that.
um, most child abuse, according to research, is done by opportunists. So family members or somebody with
Like
access.
the guy at the car dealership who sees somebody down in his luck who might be willing to buy like a cheap busted down car, that he's the person who's running for it. Just opportunists in general. Just
Well,
any
sexual
opportunist.
oppor- just that the person who's molesting a child may not prefer a child. They might rather be molesting an adult, but children are much easier to molest because they trust you. You're alone with them. They can't fight back. They believe shit you say.
I see. So
So,
we're just for my edification. So by pedophile in this case, we're not talking about people who are sexually attracted to children. We're talking about people who exclusively prefer children.
well, if you're going to say that if you can have sex with a child, if you can be aroused with a child, then you're a pedophile. The problem with saying that is that most men can be aroused by a child. Again, this is according to the research I read. So this is my ballpark understanding of the situation.
So the reason why I'd
Is
be a
that
little bit suspicious here is because
sure?
there are so many ways that you could unpack that. Like for example, um, one of the issues with the Cuties film is that it has shots of characters in it that sexualize the children without specifying, without giving you cues that tell you their age in like a definitive way.
Yeah, the
So
laundry scene.
yeah, so one question that I might have, for example, is like when we're talking about like the prevalence of adult men who can be aroused by children. Are we talking about aroused by people that they know to be children, or are we talking about aroused by
Yeah,
bodies that happen to be
people
children?
no
Because
people that
there are
they
adults
know no no.
in their 20s who are in their 30s who have like flat chests and they're short and whatnot, and they could pass
Yeah,
as
no, you
younger.
can tell the difference between you think it can't pass as 11. I mean, we're talking about prepubescent children.
Yeah, yeah, probably. I don't know.
Okay. So this is so I again, I'm not asking you to like agree with any of this or
No,
say
no,
like
no,
I
not at all,
know
not at all.
because
Just
okay.
it was a point of
So
clarification.
my understanding of the situation,
Uh huh.
and I want to go back to your prescription for how we should talk about this, is that most adult men can be aroused by prepubescent children given the right circumstance and stimuli, and that most children who are sexually abused are not being sexually abused by pedophiles.
You know the
They're being
names of any
sexually
of these
abused
studies by chance, off the top of your head?
for the name. No.
Any of them? No, okay. All right, as you were.
Um, so, just hypothetically,
Yeah.
if that were all true, um, I think one of the thesis I'm going to be making in my video is that the idea that kids need to be protected from pedophiles as this like small, unique, weird class of extra crazy people, and then we'll all be fine, is a bit misguided when it's really all of
The other
us.
way around, isn't it? That's where you're going with this. Gotcha, gotcha.
No,
As you
no,
were,
I'm
sorry.
saying that kids need to be protected from normal people,
Okay.
usually from
Yeah,
their own
yeah,
families.
yeah. I generally agree. I mean, I didn't expect you to go like full on stranger danger, but yeah, yeah, I agree.
Stranger danger is not the main problem. Strangers are not the main
Well, no, no,
committers
no.
of
But I mean, like,
sexual abuse.
if your point is that there are additional threats, including people who are
Y-
strictly
It,
pedophilic, then I mean, obviously, I agree with you.
yeah. Pedophiles are obviously also a threat to children for sure. They're more likely to offend than non-pedophiles, like much more. So that's obviously that's for sure true, but they're a small segment of the population. So if you want to protect kids, you have to protect them from trusted adults.
Sure, but among other things, that's because some trusted adults could be secretly pedophiles who are not receiving treatment, right?
You're bending the definition again. You're using a definition of pedophile that could ensnare like most men.
Well,
So
specifically men who would sexually molest children, right?
yeah, but being attracted to children is not the best predictor of that. It's being antisocial or having low empathy and low impulse control, according to another
I'm sure the
psychologist
pedophilia
I
helps.
interviewed. You're just not. It sounds like you're not willing to accept a definition of pedophile.
Well,
Other
I don't think you've
than
actually provided one. Can you give me a definition of pedophile?
oh yeah, let's look up the DSM definition.
Because we're quibbling over technical terminology here, but I don't think either of us actually
Well, I know,
introduced
but
it.
I'm saying that the people who make these studies are all using the same terminology. So I can
Whose names you
tell
can't
you.
remember.
Sure. Again, you can. I said I don't remember their names and I don't know the stuff. Okay, now hold on a second. Now, you said, yeah, just from the best of your recollection, just sure, tell that. And I said, okay. And you let me walk out on a little plank of trust. And now you're frantically sawing the end of the plank off because you don't want to be a pedophile. So once you put your hacksaw away, and if you want me to tell you the DSM definition of pedophile,
Tell
I
me the
can.
DSM definition.
But if you're going to go into this mode where anything I say that I haven't like fully researched and can't cite the studies on, that you're going to say, call me an idiot 5 minutes later, then okay, I just won't say it. That's fine.
Well, I don't think you're an idiot.
I think you get what I'm saying. Because you're also not an idiot. Yeah, it's actually hard to like just Google a copy of the DSM.
It is. It's hard to Google studies generally. It's an absolute bitch. That's why I go into Discord and I just ask people to find me things. Typically, university students have access to these things.
Yeah, I feel like there's gonna be okay, hang on one second. DSM-5 PDF. Okay. Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorder. Pedophilic disorder. All right. You ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
There's 3 criteria.
Okay.
Over a period of at least 6 months, recurrent, intense sexually arousing fantasies, sexual urges, or behaviors involving sexual activity with a prepubescent child or children.
Okay.
That's A.
Okay.
B. The individual has acted on these sexual urges, or the sexual urges or fantasies cause marked distress or interpersonal difficulty. And C. The individual is at least age 16 years and at least 5 years older than the child or children in criterion A.
I don't see how that eliminates a lot of opportunists as well. Seems to me like you could have a lot of people. I imagine. Again, we're talking about trusted adults. Well, presumably they would mark their targets. No, they would recognize opportunities in their environments, and then these would become objects of fixation or whatever they do with them.
Yeah, well, I think you're describing a pedophile molesting a child, which
That's
I
my
think
that's
is what that looks
that's
like.
what I'm saying. So the reason why I wasn't calling you an
But, well,
idiot, the reason why I was the reason why I was
hold
the
on.
reason why I was highlighting, or the reason why I was asking you if you know the names of these studies, because when I do research, and I'm committing myself to especially like politically or socially dangerous positions with my research, I can tell you the names of the studies I'm citing, and I can tell you who wrote
That's
them.
fine. I don't want to commit myself to this position.
Okay, but
I mean, look, I've again, this is after interviewing like the leading pedophile expert in the world. So if you want to watch my interview with him, you can. And I can. Again, it feels a little unfair that I'm at the beginning of my research project, so I don't have the names of the studies.
That's
So
fair.
again,
No, that's fair. That's fair.
if you're going to keep talking about that,
That's fair. You're starting. You're starting. But
yeah. So if you feel like you don't want to talk about this, that's fine.
no, not at all.
But
I can talk about
the
almost
subject
saying.
we're talking about.
However, just very quickly. However, the relevant issue
Yeah.
is that you have no basis whatsoever for saying that all men are pedophiles. Even somewhat.
I didn't say all men are. I didn't say all men.
Even somewhat.
I didn't even say all men are pedophiles. Even somewhat.
Are all men phebophiles?
Somewhat. Yeah.
Somewhat.
Yeah.
What's the research on that? Why do you say that? It's a bold statement. All men are phebophiles.
We're in an endless loop where you ask me why I think something,
And you
I
don't
say
know.
because of because of experts I've spoken to and research I've read.
Whose
You
names
say
you
do
can't
you know
remember.
the names? You say do you know the names of the research authors? And I say no, and then you say like you're switching back and forth between we're having a thought experiment. You said it's too dangerous to talk about this. And I said, well, what if...
No, not at all.
What if...
I didn't say it's too dangerous to talk about this. I said it has to be, well, what I imply is it has to be talked about carefully. What's dangerous is talking about it in such a manner as it gives the impression to people whose potentially
don't
only
want
impediment to acting out
Okay.
on their urges is that their urges are in
I'm going to make a
sense
meta comment about the
pathological.
conversation we're having, and I
Shoot.
want you to stop diving into the conversation in response to every meta comment I make.
Okay, let's do it.
We're in a loop. We're
Okay.
in a loop where
Break
you
the loop.
say, okay, we should lie about pedophilia because if the truth allows more children to get molested, then we should lie.
If that's the truth,
And
yes.
okay.
If. Go on.
Yes, I said if in the sentence,
Good.
so you don't have to add it in. Okay. Then I said, what if this is the truth? Because this is my understanding, my cursory understanding, after speaking to some experts about it and reading some studies that I do not have the names of in front of me. What if this were the truth? So now we're in a thought experiment. So I outline what if this were true, and then you start interrogating the veracity of the studies by saying, well, you don't, so, well, how are they defining this? How are they defining that? Then while I'm looking up the definitions, you start giving me shit about not knowing the names of the authors, which is the first thing I said, which is, if you want to understand my cursory understanding of this, I can give you the broad strokes, but I do not have the research or evidence to back it up. And you said, okay. Once you said, okay, you've consented to engaging with this thought experiment. But now you're actively.
You saw it in my face, didn't you?
I saw it in your face. Now you're saying, now that you see if I said the studies show that you're very smart and everything you're saying is right, then you'd be like, okay, well, I don't need to know the study authors. This is fine. But because you don't like where the thought experiment is going, now all of a sudden you're like, well, now wait a second. Let's back up to the step where I agreed that to hear you out, even though you don't know the study authors, and you're saying, I'm going to throw some shade on that. So so then I say, hey, you're doing this, and then you say,
Because
well,
what precipitated
see,
the thought
then you say,
experiment.
well, you shouldn't talk about this if you don't know the study author's name. And then we're back at step one.
Because
so
what precipitated.
do you want to have the fucking conversation or not?
Yes, because what precipitated that conversation was the statement about most men are somewhat pedophile. You made the statement first, otherwise we wouldn't be discussing it. That was the impetus for that whole spiral.
You said that it's dangerous.
It is very dangerous. It's a very dangerous topic.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I wanted to understand why you think it's so dangerous, and wanted to see if your view on that would shift if your understanding of pedophilia and child sexual abuse were elevated from completely uneducated to very slightly educated like mine. But you don't want to go along with that thought experiment. So we can just can it, or I can read you the definition of pedophilia. But if you agree that I
Is there another
don't
definition?
really...
I thought you already read it.
No. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I read it, but we haven't really. You then gave an example that you gave an example of a pedophile molesting a child, but the whole thing we're talking about is a non-pedophile molesting a child. So I would need to walk you through how that is possible given the criteria.
Potentially, but the definition that we looked at though includes in that description someone who acts upon these urges. There's nothing in there to actually preclude
you
a
have to
description
act
of
on the
anyone.
urge. You have to act on the urges for a period of 6 months.
Does it say you have to act on the urges for a period of 6 months? So it's not a pedophile if they only act on it once in a period of 6 months?
Criteria.
Can you send me a link?
The first criteria is over a period of at least 6 months.
Can you send me a link in the chat here quickly just so I can look at it?
Sure. You want me to send you a screenshot?
Oh, that works.
Anyway, I'm not an expert in this, and I am not well versed in the research. So if we're going to continue the conversation,
okay, here we go.
I would like you to stop pointing that out.
So diagnostic criteria over a period of at least 6 months.
As if it is a
intense.
fucking point mark on your side.
The individual's acted on these sexual urges, or the sexual urges or fantasies cause marked distress or interpersonal difficulty, or the word in there, Max, is or. So it can be over a period of at least 6 months for current intense sexual arousing fantasies, sexual urges, or behaviors involving sexual activity with a prepubescent child or children.
No.
Or.
No, the or. No.
The or means it can be.
No.
It doesn't say.
The or is referring to fantasies, urges, or behaviors.
So, a behavior
But
involving
over
sexual
a period
activity.
Of at least 6 months.
A behavior involving
over a period
sexual.
Of at least 6 months.
Okay, sure, fair enough. But a behavior involving just one second. I will let you go. Okay, I promise.
Okay.
A behavior involving sexual activity with a prepubescent child would encompass somebody who would also have opportunistic sex with a vulnerable adult, having sexual activity with a prepubescent child. That encompasses both.
I'm going to put it up on the screen so we can all fucking see it.
In fact, at the bottom, they even specify exclusive type versus non-exclusive type. Exclusive type is attracted only to children. Non-exclusive is not only attracted to children, which means that those opportunists are also pedophiles on this definition.
I'm going to walk you through it.
Okay.
Here we go, everybody. Okay. Over a period of at least 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
So the A, B, and C are not ors. So anything you're going to diagnose as anyone who's diagnosed with pedophilic disorder has to meet this criteria. So, over a period of at least 6 months.
So very quickly, let me paint you a portrait here. Over a period of at least 6 months, someone who is
Wait, I thought you said I was going to get a turn to go. When is that going to happen?
Go for it.
Is it President Sunday or King Sunday?
It's King Sunday. I'm being diplomatic. Go on.
I see that. Okay. So you have to have exhibited this behavior for 6 months. So this means that a babysitter who rapes a child cannot be diagnosed with pedophilic disorder.
That's true.
If it's a one-time thing.
If it's a one-time thing.
Even if they rape a child every day for 5 months and 29 days.
Assuming
that 6th month is February, they're not a pedophile.
Assuming, in addition, they also do not have intense sexually arousing fantasies, sexual urges, or behaviors beyond that. Yes.
That is correct. So your mind is slipping away from the example I'm giving you of how a non-pedophile can sexually abuse a child. So yes.
On a technicality of a day, yes. Go on. It's okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So most sexual abuse, according to my unnamed anonymous sources, most sexual abuse is committed by people who do not meet these criteria. They do not have intense sexually arousing fantasies, urges, or behaviors involving prepubescent children.
I was probably a shot in the dark, but I am curious. It's pertinent to this particular sentence. How was this determined? Do you know?
I don't know. Probably interviews, I assume.
All right.
Or just lack of evidence. I mean, like if you are an adult male and you have a otherwise normal appearing sexual history and behaviors, and they interview you, and you say, you know, yeah, I molested a kid, but I'm not into kids, then I don't think they can't diagnose you.
Molested the kid over a period of 5 months, but they're not into kids.
Yeah, only 5 months.
Okay.
The DSM.
And in addition,
Previously-
to be clear, their sexually arousing fantasies and urges were also within 6 months.
Yeah, basically, if you have a hyper sexual fixation on prepubescent kids, then you've got a disorder.
So long as
they
it hits the
had
6
a-
month mark. Okay, but this is for this is actually sort of in the ballpark of the conversation we were having about
Okay.
consent and whether or not you can tell if somebody wants it, right? 'Cause this is a diagnostic. I'm not cutting you off. You can continue. But this is for when a clinician can determine with confidence that this is what we're. Okay, let's see. So the population prevalence of pedophilic disorder is unknown. The highest possible prevalence for pedophilic disorder in the male population is approximately 3% to 5%. Huzzah! The population prevalence of pedophilic disorder in females is even more uncertain, but it is likely a small fraction of the prevalence in males.
So it could be that 5% of the male population meets these criteria.
Okay,
That's a lot.
that's a decent
think.
number. That's a decent number. Yeah, that's a lot of people.
Yeah. I think that's about the percent that self-identify as gay. But again, it's very hard
5%?
to.
That low, huh?
I think it's now might be. Most people are bisexual now, or most LGBT people now are bisexual.
Okay. Yeah, it's possible. I don't know the studies on that. I mean, I wouldn't disbelieve that number. I don't know.
One of our resident pedophilia experts is saying that's based on surveys, not philometry, which is they put a thing around your dick and see if it gets hard when you look at or think about certain things.
Yeah, that sounds
Philometry-
expensive.
Yeah, philometry is higher. Okay, so
Yeah.
anyway, back to the danger of talking about it.
Okay.
Hypothetically,
Mm-hmm.
if 5%, up to 5% of men are pedophiles,
Yeah.
most kids are not molested by pedophiles.
Okay.
If it is if molesting a child is something that low impulse control or drugs or lack of empathy is a good predictor of, that implies to me that the urge is there for a lot of men. It's just not acted upon.
Or
When I see
or sometimes the first instance that we see of someone demonstrating pedophilic tendencies is when they commit the act. Under the influence of drugs, maybe that lowers their inhibitions.
Sure, I just think you're talking about a restructuring of how it's defined, though.
How so?
Well, if psychologists are saying most children are not molested by pedophiles, you can't just say like, well, you're defining pedophile wrong. I mean, they.
I never disagreed with that statement. I don't think most children are molested by pedophiles.
Most children are not molested by pedophiles.
I know. I didn't disagree with that.
Okay, so then if you wait, I'm giving you a hypothetical and you're just changing it because you don't like it.
How so?
If the hypothetical is true, if what I just outlined, up to 5% of the male population is pedophiles.
Sure.
Most kids are not molested by pedophiles.
Right.
The best predictors of child molestation are access to kids, lack of empathy, drug problems, and lack of impulse control. Let's say how the fuck do you want me to talk about that? It just seems like you're saying that it's
Well,
dangerous.
don't talk about it in a way that can easily be construed by somebody with a drive to do so. Um, that supplies somebody with the tools to break down the things that control their impulses. One of which would be, this is a socially frowned upon thing that is unconscionable to most people. Therefore, despite the overwhelming drive within someone to do so, they are going to refrain because they fear that more than they want the thing that they are driven to get a hold of.
But it's um bank robbery is unconscionable to most people, right?
Sure. Probably less
Frowned
so.
upon.
Probably significantly less so.
Sure, but
Uh-huh. We also don't have a sexual urge to bank robbery most of the time. It's a little bit
well,
less.
I guess my point is that
I mean, I'm speaking for
when you
myself.
say when you say bank robbery is wrong, you're not also at the same time saying, and I don't want to do it, and I don't understand people who do.
For the socialists in the
Whereas
audience, I am not saying that bank robbery is wrong. Sorry, what were you saying? Continue.
child molestation is different in that you're giving a prescription for saying it's wrong, we shouldn't do it, but also that it's important to add on, and I don't understand why anybody would.
Well, not that you don't understand why anybody would. That the drive to do so is aberrational, or something along those lines. I mean, maybe you can understand it perfectly. Maybe it's literally just take the drives that you have towards appropriate subjects and now apply them to an inappropriate subject. I mean, it's not hard to imagine. People have sexual drives towards people that society has no issue with them having sexual drives towards, and they still keep those a secret.
Yeah,
You have a
but
coworker you're attracted to,
you're
but you're
saying, yeah, okay.
yeah.
Do you think this research, if the research shows that the average man can be sexually attracted to a prepubescent child given the right circumstances, do you think the research itself is unethical?
I think it should be published extraordinarily carefully, if published at all.
Because when we're talking about bank robberies,
Uh-huh.
again, you don't seem to have a problem with like rap songs saying like everybody knows why somebody would want to rob somebody. That's something we can all feel, that feeling of like wanting to take something that's not ours and then like have it and brag about it. But with this, you're saying part of the social plan for preventing it should be convincing people that nobody else wants to.
I'm saying something much more modest. I'm saying in the event that we actually don't know and we're in the dark about this, which we really are, we should not be doing things.
I don't think we are in the dark.
We should not be doing things that would frustrate positive attempts to offset that if that is the case.
But can you speak to this difference that I'm pointing out, where with most crimes, the social stigmatization of the crime does not involve shaming people for wanting to do the crime?
It should not involve shaming people for wanting to do it.
Yeah,
Yes,
usually,
because among other things, they're just different kinds of things. Like wanting to do a bank robbery, you're not typically wanting to do a bank robbery because your brain is so configured that you go slightly crazy if you don't indulge and do a bank robbery. Maybe that's the case for some people, but I imagine that's generally much weaker for most of the population and probably far less prevalent. When we're talking about these other things, like let's assume that you're right. Maybe the reason for the belief that it's aberrational, which is itself potentially a very powerful control mechanism, we just don't know, is precisely that. Maybe your conjecture that most people in the world are like that is correct. We have no idea. I mean, I don't know. I only know for myself. But it's not correct for most people in the world. Maybe that's what keeps a lot of people from
maybe
even
everybody's a
contemplating it.
pedophile except you, President Sunday.
It's a distinct possibility. I shudder to think of it, though. I don't think so, though. I have more faith in people than that.
Faith?
Yeah.
What's faith have to do with it?
Oh, everything. You have confidence in these studies whose names and authors you can't remember. I have confidence that most people are not secretly in the darkest parts of their brains, foaming at the mouth, dreaming of molesting children.
There's not there's the one of the problems with your stance is that it um, doesn't protect children.
Does it not? I
There's
mean, it
there's a
might.
lot
We
of
don't. We
evidence.
don't. We don't know what
There's
the. We don't know what the facts on the ground are at this like grand systemic level.
we when you see somebody like Jeffrey Epstein, are you just baffled? Or like when you hear
No.
about kids getting kidnapped
No. Not at all. Again,
or kids getting
it's not.
molested by their family members,
It's
are
not like.
you
It's not like.
how does this figure into your do you know how many kids are molested by their like parents and step parents and teachers and Catholic priests? Like how do you how do you hold this important knowledge that kids are molested and abused constantly with your rosy denial filled belief that
That the
people
majority of people don't do that.
I'm not saying the majority of people molest kids, but I'm saying that it happens. We agree that most people who have in the deep, you're saying the deepest, darkest parts of their mind. We agree we're not describing somebody who is likely to actually molest a kid, right? In my view, if I'm saying that's something that is probably really widespread, that it's somewhere back in there. It might be dormant. It might be very easily controlled. It might not be a strong urge,
Well, it
or
might
it
be.
might not be an urge at all. It might just be a misplaced sexual urge that's an opportunist thing that's being thrown onto a kid. But I'm talking about like an iceberg, where most of it
Well,
is
here's
dormant.
here's one of those really rare cases where a conservative mentality is actually appropriate. You don't start ripping down fences before figuring out what they're up for.
Right. So that's what I'm trying to get at with you. So we keep changing the subject back and forth between is this a realistic lens to look at to say like, well, if this many kids are getting molested, it kind of stands to reason that that impulse is kind of in there somewhere for like a big group of people.
Not
If
net,
it's so common for it to actually
not real.
break through and happen, like this many people are molesting their own fucking kids.
Well, you're
Well,
you're you're
there's every reason in
assuming
the world
y-
not to do
you're
that.
you're assuming that a very small part of that subset of people actually act on that. But I mean, you yourself even said earlier, and it says, I think, does
I
it
don't
say,
know. Yeah, it could be.
you
It could
you
be a large
yourself you
subset.
yourself said
Maybe
so.
every
Hang on,
maybe
you
every
yourself
person
said
who
so.
hasn't.
You yourself said so earlier that that pedophiles are much more likely to act on it. I mean, it may be simply the case that this particular subset is
Do you
remarkably
think?
active.
Do you think that most people who want to molest their own kids act on it?
Who want to molest their own kids?
Most people who have
I have no
most people who
I
have
have no quantitative basis for saying one way or the other.
most people who have any inkling to molest, say a student they teach. Do you think most people act on that urge?
I have no idea.
I
None.
don't believe you. I think that you believe that most people do not act on their criminal urges, especially
On their
faint
criminal
fisted
criminal
criminal
urges, probably not. On their
their
sexual urges
sexual
of this
urges.
particular kind, I have no idea. It might be the case that the vast majority of people who have sexual urges towards minors, in fact, would act on them. I don't have the numbers. I have no idea.
Okay. All right. I guess I just think that's so unrealistic that I can't believe that you actually, because again, we're talking about dormant, back of the mind, tiny little princess and the pea,
Yeah,
minuscule urges. And you're
inscrutable.
like, yeah, then maybe they all do it. Like that just is insane to me.
You think it's insane that I would withhold judgment on a figure that we don't have?
No, I think that you are not with. Well, I'm asking you what you think. It's insane. It's insane. The idea that you don't have an opinion. If you don't want
Oh,
to share
my
your
my
opinion,
my
that's fine.
conjectural opinion is that probably
Most
I'm
people
actually
don't
completely
have that.
ambivalent about that. I don't know. I have no idea.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well,
I don't have those urges. I don't know many people with those urges as far as I am aware. I would have no basis to guess. It might be the case that it's like the vast majority of people who have those urges act on them. We just don't know. I don't know. It might be a very small subset of them that all have those urges and they all act on them. It might be a very large subset of people and the vast minority of them don't. I just have no way to tell.
okay.
My stomach is killing me. I'm gonna have to throw in the towel at this point.
All
But
right.
thank you for the conversation. Thank you for being cooperative with what we agreed upon, and you have a good night.
All right.
Take care.
You too, Sunday. Thank you for coming.
Oh, that's not supposed to happen. I want to grab that. There we are. Are you not entertained? Have a good night, everyone. I would very much like for YouTube Studio to open so I can end the stream. Goddamn slow computer. Ciao. Oh wait, I can insert ads. Here you go. Pay me money. Fools. That's what it was all about.